We will be using our maxi dress hack pattern in order to create this pattern for the harem jumpsuit. As you can see, I've placed the pattern underneath and pattern paper on top of the maxi dress pattern, and I'll be using an L-shaped ruler to help us draw out the sides. And so I've traced the shoulder, the neckline, just like I would have traced the maxi dress. And notice when I got to the sleeve, I shortened my sleeve just a little bit. You can keep your sleeve the same or you can shorten it. The option is completely up to you. I shortened mine, it looks like about 2 inches. And you can shorten it however you want to, but that's completely up to you. And then I've traced out the line to the maxi dress right above where I have my pocket sectioned off or my pocket marked. And I just stretched or traced the line about 1 inch above the pocket marking. And this is where I'll use the L-shaped ruler to draw out the side to make the harem look. And so basically, you can see here that I shortened the sleeve about 2 inches. And I drew the underarm a little bit above the pocket. And this, you can draw it to the line where you marked your pocket, or you can stop a little bit before. Then when you use your L-shaped ruler, you're basically going to use the short end of the L shape, which would be the bottom of the L, and you're going to place it right at the tip of where you stopped your underarm mark. And then the other part is going to extend in a 45-degree angle, and it's going to extend down the leg. And so basically you're going to just trace the L shape, the bottom part, all the way down to about 21 inches on the top of the L. And then the rest of it, you're going to just bring straight down in a curve for the bottom of your leg, as you can see here. So this is how you make the harem shape on the pants leg or the jumpsuit leg. You're just using this L shape to go out, and you're just tracing the L shape and then coming down. The bottom of the pant leg could have been extended a little bit more. As you can see, it's only about 3 to 4 inches at the bottom. However, you might want to extend this length a little bit longer depending on how short or tall you are. I did it to the length of the bottom of the maxi dress. However, I could have extended it a couple of more inches down the leg, just making it a little bit longer. And then you're going to draw a line across. And so you don't want this to be as wide as your maxi dress. So you want it to be about 8 or 9 inches wide, and it could be a little bit longer and wider depending again on how wide you want the pant leg. And then from there, you're going to extend up the pant leg to make the curve. This drop crotch could have been a little bit lower. So again, it just depends on how you want the fit of the jumpsuit. And you can see from the pictures in my jumpsuit that the drop crotch for me was a little bit perfect. I could have dropped it just a little bit lower. However, that's completely up to you. And I used a curved ruler just to show you that you can make this curve or drop crotch about 11 inches. Again, you can make it a little bit shorter or a little bit longer depending on how short or long you want the drop crotch. And you're going to cut this pattern out the same way you did the maxi and the same way that you have done the tunic as well as the original pattern. You're drawing this and you're cutting it out on the fold twice, just like you did before. And so this is a simple pattern. Once you've traced everything, again, you can extend the length of the pant leg depending on your height, and you can also drop the crotch a little bit just depending on the look that you're going for. And you'll cut this pattern out twice on the fold, and then you'll sew it up the same way that you've sewn the maxi and the tunic, except in order to get into the jumpsuit, because you won't be able to pull it over your head, you're going to leave one of your sleeves open if you're going to pull it up from the bottom. An option is to also leave the bottom part open by adding snaps in the seat. So that's another option. So you can add either a zipper on one sleeve or snaps on one sleeve or shoulder, or you can use snaps in the crotch of the pant leg. And so again, that's completely up to you. And so once you've traced your pattern, you want to cut it out and then cut out your fabric. And you want to use knit fabric for this because this is you need stretchy fabric and you need it to lay right. All right, let's get on to sewing. The first thing that you want to do is you want to sew one of your shoulder seams to the other shoulder seam, and you're doing this with right sides facing. And again, this is if you're going to leave the other sleeve open and use it as you slip into the jumpsuit. So if you're going to pull the jumpsuit on from the bottom, you want to leave one sleeve unsewn because you're going to either add snaps to that sleeve or you're going to add a zipper. It's completely up to you how you want to finish the sleeve. And so I finished mine with a zipper. And so what I did was I sewed from the bottom of the sleeve about 5 inches up, and then I added a zipper to the rest. Or maybe it was about 3 or 4 inches. But I made sure that it was enough room for me to get my hips over the shoulder part. So you want to make sure that you can get your hips and your chest part from the bottom of the jumpsuit. You want to make sure that you can get your hips and your breasts through the sleeve or the armhole or the neckline. And then once you have stitched up one of your shoulder seams, you can definitely finish this with a serger or a zigzag stitch depending on which one you have. If you have a serger, I suggest you serging your edges, definitely because you're using knit and you don't want the stitches to pop. If you don't have a serger, then you can definitely zigzag your stitches so those stitches can stretch. As you can see, I've placed a pin where I'm going to stop. So I did sew up the other shoulder seam just up to that pin, and then the rest of that I'm going to leave open so that I can add a zipper. And as you can see, I've already stitched up the sides. So you want to stitch up both sides with right sides together, and you're just stitching the sides up just as you would the tunic. Just make sure you follow along the edge and follow along those curves and the harem L shape, the L shape on the sides. Make sure that you're just stitching up around that. And again, you can see that I've serged my stitches. If you don't have a serger, that's not a problem. You can zigzag the stitches. And you're going to press those seams either open if you use the zigzag stitch, or you're going to press them to the back if you use the serger. If you're adding a zipper, I would suggest that you use a knit interfacing on your seams that you have stitched as you press them open. Interfacing is going to help you have a stiffer and stronger area because that zip is going to be pulled and pushed or pulled, and you want to make sure that you have a strong backing for that zipper so that it doesn't make your sleeve or your shoulder seam look kind of wonky or wrinkled or stretched out of shape. And so you just want to add some knit interfacing, and you can add the knit interfacing to the seam. I added mine to the back and actually press the interfacing in between the seam and the shoulder. You probably don't want to do that. You want to just add it to the seam. That way you'll be able to add your zipper in a lot easier. So where you see that I open up the seam allowance, the flap, this is where you want to add your interfacing to this part that's open up. You don't want to add it and attach it to the seam allowance and along to the shoulder seam. You want to just attach it to the seam allowance where your zipper is going to go. After you've installed your interfacing, you can add your zipper or any type of closure that you would like to install. I did an invisible zipper, and however, I'm not going to show you a tutorial on how to do a zipper, but I do want to give you some options. You can add an invisible zipper, or you can add a regular zipper. That might be something that you use for style. You can add buttons or snaps or eyelets or grommets and laces. It's completely up to you how you want to close off this shoulder seam so that you can get in it. And again, if you are using the shoulder seam as far as pulling the jumpsuit up from the bottom, you'll just leave one shoulder not closed all the way so that you can add some type of closure that can be opened and closed so you can get in and out of the jumpsuit. If you decide to put the jumpsuit over your head and leave the bottom of the jumpsuit open, the crotch area, then you would just do the same thing, whatever is your preference. You can use snaps or buttons or however you would like to use. And so if you're using those snaps or buttons in the crotch area, this would be just leaving those seams open, and it would kind of look more like the baby onesies that you see that have the snaps in the crotch area. And so you can definitely do that option as well. And that is something that I might consider doing in the future and showing you some pictures on how that jumpsuit looks as well. So just keep in mind there are many options on how you can get in and out of the jumpsuit. So keep that in mind. You can also add elastic around the neckline, which would help you get in and out of the jumpsuit through the bottom as well. At this point, you want to close off the zipper and the neckline with bias binding, just like you did in the maxi dress and the tunic. So if you're using a zipper that is a little bit longer than your actual size of your neckline and your shoulder seam, then you're going to need to close off the zipper with bias binding and make sure that you cover the zipper so that it's enclosed in the bias binding, and that once you cut the zipper, it doesn't come all the way off when you pull it up. If you use a zipper that is the exact measurement of the hole that you leave to insert the zipper, then you can use a hook and eye to close off the top when you insert your bias binding. So whatever method you decide is up to you. Again, if you use buttons, you can still close off the neckline with bias binding. Either way, you just want to make sure that your zipper is encased and that it's secure and that the zipper pull doesn't come off the zipper when you clip the excess part of the zipper or after you've put your zipper on. So you just want to make sure that the zipper is secure. I can't stress that enough before you cut the zipper if you're using one that's longer. And here are a few pictures of the look, the finished look. Again, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you make the harem jumpsuit out of your Simplicity 8656 pattern. And if you do, make sure that you share your makes on Instagram with the hashtag S8656 pattern hack. I'd love to see your makes, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please make sure that you subscribe, that you like the video, and I hope to see you again. Thank you so much for watching.